All right, so get this. You know how IVF has already been shaking things up in the world of family planning? Well, buckle up, because the advancements we're diving into today, they make IVF look almost old school. We're talking lab-grown eggs and sperm, artificial wombs, stuff that sounds straight out of science fiction, but it's becoming a reality.
It really is incredible.
And you've asked for this deep dive with a specific question in mind. How does Islam, particularly Sunni Islam, approach these new frontiers in assisted reproduction?
It's a question that really sits at the crossroads of science and ethics and faith.
Right.
And to really untangle it, we need to understand not just these incredible technologies, but also the why.
Yeah.
Why are these advancements so groundbreaking? What fundamental beliefs of Sunni Islam do they touch upon?
Exactly. Our sources today, and we've got insights from a legal expert in Islamic law, a specialist in IVF, and a biomedical scientist. They lay out 3 major advancements that are really pushing the envelope.
Okay.
And just a reminder for our listeners, when we talk about Sunni Islam, we're talking about the largest branch of Islam with a strong emphasis on following the Prophet Muhammad's example and adhering to Islamic law or Sharia. Now, the first advancement, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
It's called IVG.
Okay.
In vitro gameogenesis.
Wow.
Imagine taking someone's skin cells and in a lab transforming them into sperm or eggs.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing, right?
It's incredible to think that we're moving beyond simply assisting reproduction to potentially creating the very building blocks of life in a petri dish.
Yeah.
And it's not just science fiction.
Right.
Researchers have already used IVG to successfully create viable baby mice from skin cells.
Wow.
These mice grew up and even had healthy offspring of their own.
Okay, that's just wild.
Right.
And it makes you think, if we can do this with mice, are we on the brink of creating human babies from skin cells? And what happens if anyone can become a parent? Regardless of age or even their biological sex?
Yeah.
It really challenges those traditional notions of family.
You've hit on a crucial point. These technologies force us to confront questions we may not even have considered before.
Right.
For Sunni Islam, which places a high value on lineage and the natural order of reproduction within marriage, these advancements raise particularly complex questions.
It's like we're stepping into uncharted territory.
It really is.
And speaking of uncharted, the second advancement takes us even further down this rabbit hole, artificial womb technology.
Okay.
We're talking about the potential for a pregnancy to occur entirely outside of the human body, from beginning to end.
And while this technology is still being perfected, scientists have already had success in bringing premature lambs to term using artificial wombs.
Wow.
So it's not a question of if, but when this technology will be ready for humans.
Okay, that's both fascinating and a little bit unnerving, right? I mean, what would it mean for women, for families, for our whole understanding of pregnancy and childbirth if we remove the need for a biological mother altogether?
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack.
It certainly is, and it intersects with some fundamental tenets of Sunni Islam.
Okay.
Like the emphasis on natural processes and the divine role in creation. How do these new technologies fit within that framework?
Yeah.
These are questions that Islamic scholars are grappling with right now.
And if those two weren't enough, the third advancement our sources delve into is like something out of a futuristic genetic engineering lab.
Okay.
Imagine creating embryo-like structures. Think of them as synthetic embryos using only stem cells.
Oh, wow.
No sperm, no egg, just stem cells programs to develop.
That's something else.
Right.
Yeah,
it's wild.
that is.
Researchers have already created these synthetic embryos using both mouse and human stem cells. And while they haven't yet resulted in a live birth, the science is progressing rapidly.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling, and it begs the question, what are the ethical implications of creating life in a lab, essentially from scratch? And from a Sunni perspective, where the soul is believed to enter the fetus at a certain point in development, how would that apply to a synthetic embryo?
It's a question that goes right to the heart of Islamic beliefs about the beginning of life, the role of God in creation, and the sanctity of the family unit.
Right.
And it's just one of the many ethical and theological dilemmas these advancements pose.
Yeah.
But before we dive into those deeper questions, let's take a moment to pause and consider, what's your initial reaction to all of this?
Yeah.
Do any of these advancements strike you as particularly groundbreaking or concerning?
For me, it's almost too much to wrap my head around. It's like we're on the verge of this whole new era of family planning.
Right.
But are we ready for it?
It's a very good question.
And what does it even mean to reconcile these advancements with, centuries-old beliefs?
That's exactly the tightrope we're walking here.
Right.
Our sources emphasize that within Sunni Islam, seeking treatment for infertility is considered permissible.
Okay.
So that shows an openness to medical intervention, but there's also a strong encouragement towards acceptance, if those treatments don't work.
Yeah.
Highlighting the importance of aligning with God's will.
So it's about finding that balance, pursuing advancements, while also acknowledging that there are some things we might not be able to control.
Absolutely.
But where does that leave us with these specific technologies?
Well, let's start with traditional IVF,
Okay.
where both the sperm and egg come from a married couple.
Mm-hmm.
This is generally accepted within Sunni Islam because it aligns with the core principles of marriage and natural procreation, even if it involves some technological assistance.
That makes sense, but things get a little murkier when we start talking about donor sperm or eggs. Right.
Exactly. Sunni Islam places a high value on lineage and knowing one's biological parents.
Okay.
Introducing donor gametes, even within a marriage, disrupts that clear lineage and raises concerns about unintended family ties and inheritance issues later on.
It's fascinating how these advancements force us to re-examine concepts that we might have just taken for granted. Like we often talk about starting a family, but what even defines a family?
That's right.
Is it biological connection?
Mm-hmm.
A shared commitment to raise a child?
Right.
These technologies blur those lines in ways that I think we're still trying to understand.
Absolutely, and that brings us to another ethically complex area.
Okay.
Surrogacy. While there are different types of surrogacy, the underlying concept of one woman carrying a pregnancy for another challenges traditional notions of motherhood and lineage within Sunni Islam.
Yeah, our sources mention how these technologies could even make it possible to conceive a child using the genetic material of someone who's deceased.
Wow.
Imagine the legal and ethical maze that creates.
Yeah, imagine a scenario where someone uses stored sperm or eggs to have a child with their deceased spouse.
Wow.
Is that honoring their memory, or could it lead to complications with inheritance, the child's well-being, or even the potential for emotional distress?
It's a lot.
These are weighty questions with no easy answers.
Yeah, it's like opening a Pandora's box of ethical dilemmas.
It really is.
And what about same-sex couples or transgender individuals who might want to use these technologies to have biologically related children? That adds another layer of complexity to the conversation.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
It forces us to examine how evolving societal norms intersect with traditional interpretations of Islamic law and family structures.
Right.
And while there's no single answer that encompasses the diverse views within the Muslim community,
Right.
it underscores the need for ongoing dialogue and understanding.
And then there's the potential impact on society as a whole.
Right.
Our experts point out that if IVG becomes commonplace, we could see a world where donor sperm and eggs are readily available, potentially making biological parenthood accessible to anyone regardless of their relationship status.
It's a fascinating possibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine a world where people are choosing gametes based on specific traits or genetic predispositions.
Wow.
Almost like building a family from a catalog.
Yeah.
While some might embrace this level of choice, others may see it as interfering with the natural order, or even leading to a devaluation of biological connection.
It really makes you question, what are the boundaries of responsible innovation, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as creating life?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, the possibility of using these technologies for genetic screening and enhancement adds a whole other layer to the conversation, doesn't it? It's like we're on the verge of being able to customize our kids, like choosing everything from eye color to intelligence.
Yeah.
Is that even something we should be considering?
Right.
And how would Sunni Islam, with its emphasis on God's will and accepting the natural order, how would they approach this level of human intervention?
It's a question that goes right to the heart of Islamic bioethics. While Islam encourages seeking knowledge and striving for betterment, tampering with the essence of life itself raises some really profound theological and ethical questions.
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line between permissible medical advancements and actions that overstep our human bounds?
Mm-hmm.
That's a debate that's only going to intensify as these technologies become more sophisticated.
And let's not forget about artificial wombs.
Right.
If we remove the biological need for a mother to carry a pregnancy,
Yeah.
does that change our understanding of motherhood itself?
That's a good question.
And what about the potential for exploitation?
Yeah.
Could this technology be used to coerce women, especially in societies where they have limited autonomy?
These are questions that Islamic scholars are already wrestling with. And the source material emphasizes that we can't just focus on the technological advancements in isolation.
Right.
We have to consider their potential impact on individuals, families, and society as a whole.
Yeah.
And that includes examining the potential for unintended consequences or misuse.
It's a lot to consider, and it feels like for every answer we uncover, 10 more questions pop up.
It really does feel that way sometimes.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
How do we navigate this uncharted territory in a way that aligns with faith and respects human dignity?
Our summations stress the importance of open dialogue between religious scholars, medical experts, ethicists, and the Muslim community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's about fostering understanding, having those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
And ultimately ensuring that any decisions made about the use of these technologies are rooted in Islamic principles.
Right.
And prioritize the well-being of individuals and families.
It sounds like we need a serious recalibration of our ethical compass if we're going to navigate these advancements responsibly.
I think so.
It's not just about saying yes or no to a particular technology,
Right.
but about really having a nuanced understanding of its implications.
Yes.
And engaging in ongoing reflection and dialogue as these technologies continue to evolve.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we are all stakeholders in shaping this future. Scientists, policymakers, religious leaders, and individuals making decisions about their own families.
Right.
These advancements have the potential to reshape what it means to be human, to be a parent, to be a family.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility we can't afford to take lightly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it seems like the most important takeaway isn't really a definitive answer, but kind of a call to action.
I agree.
We need to be informed, we need to be engaged,
Yes.
and we need to have those crucial conversations about how to ensure that these technologies are used ethically and responsibly.
Absolutely.
What a thought-provoking exploration this has been. Until next time, keep asking those tough questions and keep diving deeper into the complex issues shaping our world.